Is this thing on? Hello? Hello? Whatever. What's up, everyone? It's Alex Johnson here. Welcome into episode 3 of The Little Johnson Show. I'm so excited for today's guest, but before we get to him, I just want to remind you, get on Underdog Fantasy, download their app, or go to underdogfantasy.com. Use promo code YARDSPER. When you use promo code YARDSPER and you deposit for the first time, you'll get $25, boom, right into your account. How about that? Underdog Fantasy, promo code YARDSPER, draft with me, draft against me. Let's go. Today's guest is Coach Bruce. Coach Bruce of YardsPerFantasy.com. I'm so excited to have him on. He's working on some amazing projects right now. So excited to talk to him about that. Talk to him about fantasy football. He really knows his stuff. Let's get to it. Coach Bruce, welcome into the Little Johnson Show. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to have you on as a guest today, and equally as excited to have you as part of our team at Yards Per Fantasy and everything you're working on. What's going on? Tell the people where they can find you. What are you up to? Let's start this thing.
You can find me on Twitter at Coach Bruce122. I will also be doing some content with Yards Per. Super excited to work with that team. I'm also going to be working with the guys over at Join Our Circle, and also have a podcast that I'm super excited about that I'll be doing with Brett Pape. You guys know him on Twitter, called The Coach Approach, and that'll be starting here the next couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to the interactions with you guys via Twitter. I'm always available to talk football or bourbon. Bourbon's always a quick way to my heart. So look forward to interacting with so many of you and appreciate you.
The Coach Approach. I love that. I'm looking forward to checking that out. But the big project you're working on right now is Project 32. People have seen it on Twitter. Hashtag Project 32. It's all over the place. Everybody's excited. But for the people who don't know, what is Project 32 and when can they expect to see it?
So in essence, it's 32 teams in 32 days. So I will break down every single NFL team. The first team page that will be released will be on August 4th. And then you will see a team page get released every single day for 32 consecutive days, with the last team coming out on September 5th, which is the Sunday before opening kickoff of the season on Thursday night with the Hall of Fame game. Basically, I break down the coaching from the head coach to the play caller, whether that's the head coach or an offensive coordinator, their tendencies, type of offense they run, how that can have a fantasy impact on players you may have on your fantasy team. Then I will break down the offensive line from both a run blocking and pass blocking perspective. Again, with the type of offense they run, how that can affect the running back room and the quarterback room. And then I break down the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So basically every position group on the offensive side of the ball. I will also break down tendencies from 2020, if there is a change in coaches or play callers, what that new offense could look like based on personnel and how that personnel fits that scheme. It's going to be phenomenal. Super excited. I've got a huge amount of support from the guys over at Yards Per. Tremendous amount of support from Matthew Cooper, the Coop. You guys know him on Twitter. And then Third and Short with some amazing graphics. I've got some other people that are involved behind the scenes. But the best part about Project 32 is every single day that there is a team released, from starting August 4th through September 5th, every team will have a charity that is also part of that team page with a link to make a donation. And those charities were chosen by fans and analysts in the Twitter community that wanted to have a charity that's near and dear to their heart, that might have a personal story or somehow that they've been impacted or know somebody that has worked with that charity. So it's going to be really neat to see those stories come out. But look for it coming out August 4th. I'm super excited about it, and really look forward to sharing that with you guys.
That's incredible stuff, man. I'm so excited for this, and I love the charity element of it. And I'm so proud that this is going to be hosted at YardsPerFantasy.com. But while you're going through your projections, who has been the hardest team or the hardest player to project so far?
So I'm about 18 teams in, so I've got 14 teams left to do. So some of the projections are not done yet. But I'll tell you this. I think the toughest, there's a few teams and or players that are difficult to project right now. I think the first one that comes off the top of my head would be the San Francisco 49ers. What are they going to do with Jimmy Garoppolo? At what point does Trey Lance become the starter, if at all, in 2021? Obviously, if they get out of the gate quick and Jimmy G is a starter and they're playing well, I think it's going to be hard to make that change as you make a playoff push. I think if they get to a point where there's a struggle and Trey Lance does become the guy, then, I think that's going to be, it changes because now there's more rushing upside, which can affect the rushing shares. It can affect the passing game. So projecting the guys in that wide receiver room, the running back room, is completely different based on who the quarterback is. So San Francisco, to me as a team, is probably the most difficult right now. Or any team that has, you can say the same thing about Chicago Bears when it comes to Justin Fields and Andy Dalton, although I just can't see a situation where Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy don't throw Justin Fields in right away. I mean, both those guys are somewhat on the hot seat. I think you take the guy that gives you the most opportunity. It gives you a more creativity on the offensive side of the ball with what they can do in the run game with Justin Fields, especially if things break down and he has to go off script. So hopefully that'll play out and be pretty easy. And then, Green Bay, what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love? Is Devontae Adams going to be, the wide receiver one in 2021? Is he capable of top 5 finish if Jordan Love is the guy? I still think Aaron Rodgers comes back and plays, but shoot, man, as we get closer, who knows? And then, I could also throw in the Arizona Cardinals. You pick up Rondale Moore. You've got Christian Kirk. You've got DeAndre Hopkins. You now bring in A.J. Green. What is that wide receiver room going to look like? We know what Cliff Kingsbury likes to do offensively in terms of spreading you out horizontally, creating run lanes. So I think that's going to be a fun team to break down. Does Kyler Murray become the first quarterback to give you 4,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing in a 17-game schedule? I think that's very likely. I shouldn't say very likely. I think it's a long shot, but I think he's got as good a chance as anybody. That's a fun team, I think, to break down. And what does the backfield look like with Chase Edmonds and James Conner? So there's a few teams there that are going to be a little bit tougher to break down, a little bit more of a challenge, and teams that I think are going to be a lot of fun to see what they do and what that offense looks like in 2021.
That's interesting. The Niners have been a difficult one for me to project as well. The second Trey Lance steps in, the whole offense changes. Like you said, the difference between Garoppolo and Lance is huge, between their play styles, their individual numbers, and how they impact everyone else around them in the offense. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out for sure. I'm hoping they go to Lance pretty early, just because I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, though he may hurt my Ayuk and Deebo Samuel chairs a little bit. But I know you're a Cowboys fan. What are you expecting from them this year? Are they going to be the league's highest-scoring offense?
As you guys all know, Dak Prescott is back. His ankle, compound fracture of his ankle has pretty much healed up. He's looking great in workouts. He's able to do his reps, and I think they're going to monitor that very quickly. I don't think we'll see him a lot in the preseason up until, week 3. And of course, he'll sit week 4. As far as offensive outlook and projections for these guys, I think Dak Prescott has an opportunity to be the QB1 this year. I still think Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray might have something to say about that. I think Justin Herbert has a tremendous opportunity to be that guy as well. Aaron Rodgers, if he comes back. But just from the Dallas Cowboys perspective as a whole, I think the first thing you look at is, from an offensive perspective, is what does the offensive line look like? That's going to dictate so much of what we do. You've got Tyron Smith coming back at left tackle. Missed 14 games last season. Finally got his neck issues. It's been bothering him for the last 5 years. Finally had that surgery. He looks great. He's coming into camp. He looks awesome. And then you've got the right guard, Zach Martin, who missed several games last year as well. He's coming back. Actually had to move to right tackle last year and fill in there. I think he's going to get back to form. He's fully healthy right now. And then you have La'el Collins, who missed the entire season last year. He's back at right tackle. Getting those 3 guys back is absolutely huge for that offensive line. But they also allowed Connor McGovern at left guard to get some reps last year. It also allowed Tyler Badaz, who came in at the center position and played a lot more last year. I think they were expecting when Joe Looney went down. So I think the offensive line gets back to top 10 form in 2021. If you want to talk about the quarterback position, Dak Prescott, through 5 games, almost 1,800, I think it was 1,856 yards passing. Didn't even play the fourth quarter versus the Giants. I think he's got an opportunity to definitely get over 5,000 yards this year. And I think he's going to be somewhere around 40 touchdowns total between rushing and passing touchdowns. So I think you're going to see him, really make a run at that QB1. And of course, the wide receiver room is one of the best in the NFL. You can argue Tampa Bay, but I think you could put Dallas right there at 1 or 2 in terms of the receiving room, especially if you include the tight ends. But Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb, I think are going to have an absolutely phenomenal season. I think all 3 guys go over 1,000 yards. So yes, I think the Dallas Cowboys absolutely have a chance to be the highest scoring team in the league this year. You also have Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard. Zeke Elliott's come back. He looks refreshed. He looks fired up. He looks like he wants to prove a lot of the doubters wrong. There's a lot of guys out there that don't consider Zeke a top 10 running back anymore or think he's washed. If you read Twitter, Tony Pollard has always done well filling in for Zeke when he's out. So I think that gives you a great 1-2 punch. So I'm excited for the Dallas Cowboys upcoming season. I think they're going to put up a ton of points. They do have the third easiest schedule in the NFL, I believe. If I remember correctly, they play only 3 teams that have won more than, that had a 500 record or better in 2020. All 3 of those games are on the road. They don't play any teams that finished over 500 at home. They play indoors for those 8 or 9 games. So I'm super excited to see what the Dallas Cowboys will be offensively this year. I think it's going to be a fun year. And if I'm in fantasy drafts, I'm trying to grab as many Dallas Cowboys as I can based on what I think this offense can do in 2021.
I completely agree with you. I think this offense is a good bet to be the highest scoring team in the league. I even said on the last episode of the Feed Me Fantasy podcast that this team could even be the highest scoring offense in the history of the NFL. I want Dak. I want Zeke. I want all these receivers. I love Blake Jarwin. I want all these guys on my fantasy team. Tell me some guys you're targeting outside the first 5 rounds of drafts. Let's start with quarterback.
Some of the guys I really like you can get, after round 5 or deeper into your drafts that I think have huge upside in 2021 in terms of ceiling potential. At the quarterback position, there's 2 guys that really stand out for me that you can get later on, even in super flex drafts. Carson Wentz, reunited with Frank Reich with the Indianapolis Colts. Top 5 offensive line. They've got a top 5 running back. That offense does not have to go through Carson Wentz. He doesn't have to carry them like he thought he did in Philadelphia. I think there's going to be a great opportunity there with some play action and what they can do with the passing game and moving the pocket for Carson Wentz, which Frank Reich did really well in his time in Philly with Carson. So I think he's got huge upside in 2021. I think Tua Tagovailoa is another quarterback that has big upside you can get later in drafts, especially in 1 quarterback formats. They brought in Jalen Waddle through the draft. They brought in Will Fuller. They've still got Devontae Parker. They've got Preston Williams. They've got Lynn Bowden Jr., Myles Gaskin, Salvin Ahmed. Maybe Jared Dokes gets an opportunity there in Miami. So, and they're built on the defensive side of the ball to flip field position and create turnovers and put you in a really good situation. So I expect Tua to pay big dividends in 2021.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. With Carson Wentz, he no longer has to deal with that terrible offensive line in Philly. He gets a big upgrade in Indianapolis. He's one of these guys who needs that protection. And when he gets it, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I'm right with you with Tua in that whole Dolphins offense as well. They're one of the offenses that I want pieces of in 2021. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people with how explosive and how productive they are. What about a running back?
I think a guy that, some people think maybe washed up or maybe his time in the league was done, but I think James Conner, he's a guy you can get late. I know there's a lot of upside with Chase Edmonds, but Chase Edmonds during his time in the league has not proven he can be a lead back. He's great pass catching. He's great in space, but I don't see him being that early down guy or the goal line guy on a consistent basis for Arizona this year. I think James Conner takes on that role, and if he can stay healthy, I think he can give you big returns as a running back that you can still get at great value right now.
Yeah, when I had Spence on for episode 1, he also talked about James Conner as one of his guys he's targeting deeper in drafts. Chase Edmonds may end up being the lead, but James Conner is going to have a role in this offense. He's going to be there in between the tackles grinder, and he's going to get some goal line carries as well. Tell me about your wide receivers you're targeting later.
At the wide receiver position, Laviska Shenault is a guy that could return. I think he's the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. I think bringing in Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback position, bringing in Urban Meyer, what he'd like to do offensively, I think you're going to see Laviska move around quite a bit. He's going to line up at running back. He's going to line up in the slot. He's going to line up outside. They're going to use him in motions in the screen game. He gives you yak ability. I just think he's the main guy there, and they're going to be playing from behind a lot. So I really like his upside.
You know, I'm glad you brought him up. Not enough people are talking about Laviska Shenault. He's just 22 years old. He's going to be on the field a ton, playing from the slot. And we know rookie quarterbacks, they like to target these quick, over-the-middle throws. And with no tight end there in Jacksonville, Laviska's going to be that guy that Lawrence is targeting over the middle of the field, underneath, drag routes all over the place, getting the ball out quick. And we know Laviska is a beast after the catch. He can turn a 5-yard catch into 25 yards just like that. How about at tight end? We all seem to have our favorite breakout sleeper guy at that position. Who's yours?
Tight end position, I love Irv Smith Jr. in 2021 with Kyle Rudolph no longer there. Tyler Conklin will slide into that 2 spot. But I think Irv Smith has a great opportunity to get some great targets in that offense. They like to use multiple tight end formations. So I think Irv Smith, this is the year he breaks out.
I like it. I was on Smith a little bit last year. Didn't really work out. And actually, to be honest, I'm a little more of a Conklin guy this year. I think Conklin's going to be more involved than people expect. I actually snagged him at the end of the Scott Fish Bowl. We'll see how that works out. Let's shift gears real quick and then we'll get you out of here. Outside of fantasy football, what is something you're really passionate about or something we don't know about you?
Well, there's 2 things that come to mind off the top of my head. One is bourbon. If you follow me on Twitter, you know I'm a big bourbon guy. I've shared posts of bottles of bourbon that I've purchased or I've traded for. I've shown pictures of my bourbon bar. I think I've got about 50 to 55 bottles of bourbon now. I'm all for trying new bourbons, trading bourbons with other people, in terms of bottles, shipping bottles to people that, are looking for something maybe that I can get fairly easily where I live. Anything bourbon related, man, I'm all for it. The second thing is, it sounds simple. It's in my bio. I'm a big believer in paying it forward. If I'm at the grocery store and there's a husband and wife behind me that are struggling with their 2 kids, sometimes I'll ask for cash back and just tell the clerk, hey, can you mind putting this towards, their bill, and walk out. I like to be discreet when I do those things. I don't like to make a big deal out of it. If I'm at a restaurant, I see somebody that I know across the bar, I'll typically buy them a beer or put something towards their tab. If I'm going through Starbucks, I'll buy the drinks for the person behind me. I'll do the same thing at a fast food drive-through. Just a big believer in paying it forward. If somebody's struggling to put groceries away, help them out. I'll ask if they need any help. If someone's having a hard time lifting something, I'm a bigger guy, so I'll offer to help them out. So I just challenge all you guys to pay it forward any chance you get. Don't ask for anything in return. Put it out there. I promise it comes back to you in some way, shape, or form. Big believer in it, big proponent in making people feel good. Love to put a smile on people's face. And hopefully I can continue to do that.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Those types of gestures can really have a tremendous impact on someone's life. We have no idea what people are going through. We really don't. And just the smallest thing, picking up someone's tab, helping them lift something, like you said, it could be the smallest thing, and it really, really could have a tremendous impact on someone's life. But listen, I'm so excited to have you on the Yards Per Fantasy team. I'm so excited for Project 32 and everything else you're working on. Thank you so much for coming on, taking the time to do this show. Go find Coach Bruce on Twitter at CoachBruce122 and keep an eye out for his Coach Approach podcast coming very soon. And keep track of Project 32 on yardsperfantasy.com. Thanks, Coach. Let's get out of here. When you use that promo code YARDSPER, for the first time, you'll... Damn it. What's up, everyone? It's Alex Johnson here. Thank you so much for coming on. So excited to have you on as a guest. So excited for everything you're working on at Yards Per Fantasy and otherwise. Very, very excited. excited. I'm so excited about everything. I'm so excited. Coach Bruce, what is up, my man? Welcome into the Little Johnson Show. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you on. Very excited. Stop saying you're excited. The coach approach. I love that. Really excited again. The coach approach. I love that. Looking forward to checking that out. The coach approach. I like that. The coach approach. I love that. I'm looking forward to checking that out. But the big project, that's incredible. And I'm so excited. That's incredible. I'm so excited for this. I love that. That's incredible. That's incredible. But I know you're a Cowboys fan. What are you expecting from that offense this year? Are they going to be the high? Coach Bruce. Go find Coach Bruce on Twitter at CoachBruce122. Look for his coach approach. Go find Coach. Go find Coach Bruce on Twitter. Go find Coach Bruce. Go.